Hey, yes you can.
Can I kick it? Come on.
Yeah, yes you
Hey,
can.
can I kick it one time?
Yes you can.
Can I kick it? Yeah. Come on.
Yes you can.
Hey, can I kick it?
Yes you can.
Can I kick it?
Hey, yes you
Just one
can.
time. Can I kick it?
Yes you can.
Cause I'm gone.
Go on then.
Yeah, we know how simple we reppin', hoes, double heaven full of them, but you already know.
Hey.
No matter if you flow.
Hey.
I'm like your cabbage, no cabbage, the already said it's like magic, don't kick it style so wild, bet you can't kick it, cause we keeping the game wrapped tight to make that thing go. Keep your flow fatter than your.
I chose this video because of its message at the end. I truly believe that like the greatest kick in life is when you get that sense that you really made a difference to someone else. So yeah, so that's what this is gonna be about. Not just social media, which has its pros and cons. We can go over that at the end during the Q&A session. But this is gonna be focused on the positive impact you can have by sharing stuff online through social media. And so just briefly, who I am. My name is Michael, and I've practiced Kung Fu for a long time, and about 10 years, and then I started sharing my passion via YouTube, I don't know, maybe 3 years back or something like that, and I've built a community online on the channel Zen-Dragon, which can also be followed on Instagram and Facebook, and in the future, who knows. It's not really about the platform, it's more about what you can do with it. Also, I'm the co-founder of a project called Medgang, along with my girlfriend, who's actually the one recording. But Medgang was all about making a difference also offline with the people we meet in person, and in this very room actually we've had some yoga sessions and some martial arts training for people perhaps less fortunate than most of those who get the chance to go to classes and stuff. So we've done some of that for free, and eventually we had to kind of pause it a bit because it was during the weekends and we both worked full time, and I also make YouTube videos. But there's other ways through social media that we're able to still try and make a difference with Medgang, even when we're not present and don't have the time to do something actively. There's still some things we can do, and let's move on from this picture. So basically, I already mentioned this part. This is going to be about the positive potential of social media. I'm gonna share some of my experiences and then some cases, and then probably the most fun part at the end, we're gonna open up a Q&A session, and it can just be like a debate. Feel free to ask anything you like, or just come with statements or perspectives. Alright, so some of my experiences, I've already chosen some links just to share some of them, but one experience, maybe I should start out just because I'm looking at my dad now and who's in the audience, and just starting out, my earliest experiences sharing stuff on YouTube there was like zero response. It was just like throwing something into a vacuum, and I was recording it with the help of my dad. I was completely broke, and he took me in so I could live there without having to pay rent. And he was recording on my cell phone, which was already not a high-tech cell phone at the time. And sometimes he was holding the camera like this, sometimes like this. So while I was trying to explain how to do a kick, I also had to focus on him and make sure I was in the shot. And my English I was told by friends, I thought you were good at English, but my English was much worse because I was multitasking, focusing on all of that. And so that was the beginning, and that's kind of if you want to share something online and you want to reach an audience, that's probably gonna be your beginning as well in some sense. Just humble beginnings and just not really knowing what you're doing, because I've never been a technical guy. There's someone who's late, and I knew he would be late, who's gonna be here in the audience, who really helped me out learning technical stuff about video editing. But most of what I've learned has been from YouTube and Google, and just thanks to technology. But later on, I've had some more experiences actually interacting with people once I reached an audience. And so this first link, which we're gonna bring up in just a moment, is where someone reached out to me. Somehow they found me on Facebook, and this person was getting bullied. So yeah, let's just watch the video. And basically when he reached out to me, I felt like, first of all, I felt like I really wanted to try and help this guy, but I was very busy and I was finding the time, and then I realized I should make a video, because that way my encouragement and my advice can reach who knows how many people. So, and is it loading? We'll see. The video, it's called something with anti-bullying, so it's not this one. I'm gonna share that later, and not that one either. It's a YouTube one. And that's also something you gotta get used to if you're sharing stuff with technology, that sometimes it's gonna be some challenges with it. But basically, so this guy messaged me, and I just thought, how can I try to reach as many people as possible with my message about anti-bullying? Din browser genkender ikke nogen af de tilgængelige YouTube-platforme. Lidt mærkeligt, fordi det fungerede tidligere. Skal man trykke det der, måske?
Hvad hedder videoen? How to do...
Den hedder bare anti-bullying. Der er den. Det er den video. Okay.
Yesterday morning, when someone found me on Facebook, and they wrote this message to me. I have a question. This is the Zen-Dragon guy. I've been trying to make my body look better, and no matter how hard I try, I look the same. I wish to get defined abs and stomach and arms, but I don't have a gym, and at home workouts are not going. My body is also too negative. Form of skinny fat. I built my entire leg practicing for my entire goal testing. This is a martial artist. I wear a few watching class. And so I have been on that.
And so I just wanted to share this brief moment. We don't need to watch the entire thing, so let's just pause it. But basically the idea that he'd somehow find out about me, I'm not gonna reveal who this person is, but he's living in the States and I'm living here in Denmark, and he found me and asked for advice, and just the ability to suddenly reach people across continents. I know we're all used to it by now, but it's something that perhaps we're not always like taking action on in the ways that might just be really not just helpful to others, but also just really give us a kick in life, like I said in the opening video, by making a difference. But another thing at the end of this video is, and it's something anyone can do, is I launched a product which I don't earn anything from. I chose to donate all of it to the Anti-Bully Project. But it's a Zen-Dragon t-shirt, which is the name of my YouTube channel, of course. And it says, stand up for someone who's down in the back. So it promotes the message of taking responsibility on behalf of others. And what I think is the really cool part is that someone like me who's nobody special and doesn't have a lot of funds or anything, I would never imagine being able to just launch a merchandise or product. And it's something all of you sitting here can do through this website, teespring.com. And that's because of technology and all of these opportunities. So with this website, you can just, it's not an advertisement or anything, but you can go to the website and you can design whatever products you want to choose. They have a wide section of different kind of projects. And then you are the designer and you can create art or a statement or whatever you choose. You can even sell it to earn money yourself, or you can choose to donate it to one of the many partnering NGOs. So yeah, so that's another thing I've experienced thanks to social media, because sure, I could do this without a social media platform, but I wouldn't be able to promote the t-shirt, and so no one would purchase it and donate the money. And also, it's just a fun experience, I think, just having people from different parts of this world just order that t-shirt. And so also, I had the most surreal experience when I was in Italy, and it's gonna seem a bit absurd. I think first we'll play the clip and then I'll explain the story behind it, if it's actually working. Yeah, it's just a very brief clip. And so, let's pause it. So, like it says, the event was a celebration of athletes, celebrities, and masters within different fields. And it was really not a celebration of me per se. There were, I think we were like 30 or 40 people being honored in that room. But it was just such a surreal moment. I was there with my girlfriend, and she was recording this on her phone, and it just looked like some kind of presidential thing or something. I'd been invited by a fellow martial artist whom I've connected with through YouTube and Facebook, again through social media, and he knew somebody, and somehow, because I was planning on recording YouTube martial arts videos there in Italy, somehow I got nominated and won this award alongside a ton of people, really, for different reasons of expertise in their fields. But it was just such a surreal experience, which I would never have had if not I met this person through Facebook, and if not I had like this catalog of content to share. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that because that's a moment that really stands out to me. And let's go back. And then there's this project, which is actually, let's wait a bit with the clip, but while I was traveling in Cambodia, someone reached out to me on Instagram, and the person messaged me, a fellow martial artist who had just like the coolest project, which was really making an impact, much more so than Zen-Dragon. But unlike with Zen-Dragon, he didn't have a huge audience or anything. So what this guy was doing was actually, he lived in the capital of Honduras, which has had like the highest rate of homicides in the world during the last study a few years back. And actually someone very close to him had been killed, and the way he found a way forward in life was through his passion for martial arts, and in particular Taekwondo. And he wanted to share that, so he started a project where he offered free classes for the youths in Taekwondo, and all they had to do was to present good grades. So they had to show up to him, like perhaps some of you have had to, I don't know, as kids, and they had to present their grades to this guy, and as long as they were doing well in school, they'd get free classes. So he actually kept them motivated to do well in school, and also gave them a lot of experiences in the dojang training Taekwondo. So the guy, he just noticed that I had some followers, and he asked if I knew anything about how to get a sponsorship, if I had any piece of advice. And I was just thinking about that, and then I had this idea and talked about it with my girlfriend also, and we both agreed to do this as part of a project Medgang, which was to actually donate to this project and help finance it just a little bit, because we're not rich, and I'm not kind enough to donate all of my money by any means, but just I think it was like 600 crowns. I only did it for like perhaps half a year or something. I had to stop doing it eventually and find other ways to help, but I kept donating. I think it was 600 Danish crowns, which you can afford a lot more for in Honduras. And so the thing is, when you want to make a positive impact, it's important not to be naive, and you have to think of ways to use technology to make a difference, but also not getting taken advantage of. So what we came up with was that this guy could, like every time he purchased something for the money sent to him through Western Union transfer, he'd send the receipt, a picture of the receipt, and at one point he just wanted to share something more, so he shared this clip with me and Anna, and we can just hit play. So they're using equipment financed through this tiny donation from Denmark.
Bien, mirándome todos, dejen el material en el suelo, mano derecha en el pecho, Magdiel, credo.
Nuestro credo es amor a la vida, lealtad a la nación, honor a los padres, fidelidad a los amigos, respeto y obediencia a los mayores.
Saludo con la mano derecha. Saludo con la mano derecha. Michelle, saludo con la mano derecha.
Hola Mike, hola Ana.
Digan hola.
Hola. Thank you.
Digan thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, let's just pause it. And so it's always been possible to try and reach out and connect. It's never been this easy as it is today. But besides the thing that you're able to get in contact with people across the world, you're also, if you want to think outside the box, you can think of a lot of ways to solve problems, like the thing with the receipt. It could also be that he was live streaming something where you could actually see him. Like, if I felt like this was a really bad guy and the receipt wasn't enough, I could have him live stream purchasing things and stuff. So there's just all kinds of opportunities, and I'm also going to be sharing some of the things other people with even larger platforms, much larger platforms, have been able to do with social media. So let's go back, and yeah, I'm just going to show just yeah, just this one as well. It's just something we've done with Medgang. Again, using this website, teespring.com, because we felt like we weren't doing enough, because we had to cancel a lot of the weekly yoga and martial arts classes, which we used to do for free on weekends, but it was getting a bit too stressful. And so we decided to just come up with a product which could just continually make a difference. And also it was just a fun experience, just being creative and thinking of this. So we came up with this, a mug. It says Medgang on the front, and on the back it says something in Danish, which basically means that you should be grateful for every drop of liquid that you're able to drink, because it's something we oftentimes forget. Pretty much, I don't think until coming up with this product, I never thought about being grateful for drinking water. And the idea here is, when you purchase this cup, the money gets donated to the Ugandan Water Project, which again is one of the partnering NGOs with Teespring. And the nice thing about working with a bigger company, because we could donate the stuff on our own, but this way teespring.com is working to make sure that it's a legit foundation, and also it's pretty clear that they're pretty good at documenting the work actually on their website, the Ugandan Water Project. Alright, so I think we're just let's move on a bit, and I think I'll share a few other cases, and then I think we're gonna get to the Q&A part. So these are just 3 people. I could have filled out the entire screen with people who've used social media in a positive way and made an impact. And so, first of all, do any of you recognize any of these faces on the screen? Yeah? So,
I think isn't the one on the top left the one who made like funny movies about like I'm afraid of love and then screaming?
Yeah, I think it was on Vine to begin with.
Why are you afraid of love?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen those, but I know he makes a lot of short, funny movies and stunts.
I remember I saw him in Oprah.
On Oprah Winfrey? Yeah, I saw him on YouTube. But I think he blew up not on YouTube, but on another platform I wasn't using. I think it was Vine and also Snapchat. I know he's used Snapchat a lot. So a lot of his content is very brief and is entertaining. He has a really interesting TED Talk for those curious about the guy, where he talks about just the kind of opportunities it's brought him sharing stuff. And he's really focused on making an impact and helping others. So I'm just going to name one example. You can research him afterwards if you're curious. But the guy made a deal with a company, and the deal was, if his post on Instagram, I think it was, a picture he put up there, if it got 150,000 likes, then this company would actually light up a village in the Philippines, a village which has lost electricity due to bad circumstances, and because it got so much attention, it was a win-win in many ways, both for him with his social media platform, which allows him to grow further, which allows him to make an even bigger positive impact if he chooses to do something like that again, and also for the company, because it was like one of the best commercials, and of course for the people in the village. So then there's this guy Casey Neistat, who's a pretty famous face on YouTube, at least, and there's many ways in which you can make a difference, because this guy actually inspired me to to want to create movies, and at first my idea wasn't to share my passion for martial arts. I wanted to make like documentary films, and this guy actually gave me the belief that I could do it just using my phone, and also just that like social media actually offered a platform to reach any kind of audience if you're persistent enough. And he's also since done some stunts kind of like Jerome Jarrah. I know the two are friends, where he's brought attention to a lot of causes and stuff. But really sometimes the positive influence can also just be to make an entertaining video that people enjoy watching, just because we all need something like some form of entertainment and something which will bring a smile. And this guy, Justin Wren, is a bit of a hero to me. I don't know if there's anyone in the audience know him. He's not that famous, but he used to be at least an MMA fighter, but then he discovered his true fight in life, which was to make a difference for pygmies in Congo, who've been exploited a lot. And if you look up Justin Wren and maybe type in "Fight for the Forgotten," or just look up his name, and you'll definitely find a lot of content about this cause. He's been making a documentary about it, and he's really been using social media to bring attention to this cause. So he's been several times on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is a podcast which can be listened to on iTunes, but also a lot on YouTube, where it has a huge audience each time. And he's also used the website Indiegogo through crowdfunding, just get a lot of people to donate money for this cause. So he's really made a difference as well. So these are just 3 examples, and even with a much smaller audience, I think I just reached like 16,000 subscribers or something like that recently, which is astronomical compared to just a year back, but it's so much less than Casey Neistat, for instance, who's like a huge YouTuber with just millions of subscribers. But as long as you reach some people, then you have their attention, and then you can use it in a positive manner, whether it's through a message or it's something with crowdfunding or whatever it may be. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share, and then I'd like to open things up for a Q&A session. And feel free to use this session in any kind of way, whether it's you have some questions or some observations or statements, and if there's also criticism is very much welcome. Like if there's one thing with sharing stuff online is it's good to develop a thick skin, and it's also good to be able to listen. So,
question?
Yeah.
Looking back on your career or journey, you could say, do you have any specific things you wish you would have done differently?
That's a good question. Yeah, for sure. Like the first thing which comes to mind is where from the get-go it's been one of my dreams to do this as a living, and I've accomplished a lot of dreams and not yet that one. And right now I'm actually kind of conflicted about whether I should.
And what would the sources of income be? I mean,
Yeah.
where would it come from? Would that be sponsors? And
So right now I make money in both the easiest and the most difficult way to make money on YouTube, which is purely through AdSense. So to put things into perspective, I've made hundreds of videos, and I have especially one video which blew up and has more than 4 million views, and I think I have like 4 videos I would consider viral, which is at least 100,000 views, the way I interpret it. And still, from AdSense, I earn around 1,000 crowns each month. and it can be pretty random because like the last 2 months I wasn't getting paid, and then suddenly the payments got there just all at once. And also I made a video which I spent some money promoting on Facebook, like 1,000 crowns, and I spent just loads of time making it, and it was growing faster than the viral 4 million plus video, but all of a sudden that got put to an end because the video got demonetized, which means there's no ads there, and also it got age restricted. So just making money off of AdSense alone is like very, very insecure way of making money. That's why most YouTubers and influencers will be selling merchandise, which I'm also doing with the tank top, but I just chose to donate those money for the cause of anti-bullying, because I can't, I wouldn't expect to be able to finance myself just through selling that merchandise. So I figured if it's just gonna be money that I'd otherwise spend on food or partying or something, then I'd rather donate it to a worthy cause. And it's also more, I think it feels better to order a product if you know you're supporting something which has some substance, rather than just a YouTuber looking to earn a bit extra. But that said, there might be a point where I choose to make merchandise and do that also to support a living. In addition to this, there's another way to make money when you have an audience, and we can actually open up a link. I don't have it prepared, but if we go to Patreon, patreon.com, I think it's, yeah, like that, I think, .com/ there's this website, and then we can do the slash and actually write Zen-Dragon, because I made most of a Patreon page. I don't know if you can see it when I'm not logged in. Perhaps you'll just see my profile picture. It's without the hyper, whatever it's called. I'm supposed to be an English teacher, but I forgot. Yeah. So this one, if you log in, you can see, but I don't remember the password my computer does, and it's not on this one. But you can see I actually put a lot of work into creating this profile and making it appealing and showing all the work I've put into Zen-Dragon. At first it was Zen-Dragon and Medgang, and then I realized way too deep into the work, I realized that it was too confusing trying to promote 2 courses at once. Yes, but I had this Patreon page set up, which is another way to make your earnings as a creator. It doesn't have to be YouTube or anything, but the concept here is that people can actually support creators. So if you have this profile, you can create different tiers, which is, if you hit a tier, then if it says $1 each month, then you'll be supporting someone with $1 each month. Or perhaps sometimes it's tied together with an action, so the creator will make a shout out, or perhaps if it's a cartoonist, he'll make a drawing or something and send it to the person. So that's another way to make money as a creator. Now, why haven't I finished this one? There's 2 reasons. One is that I work hard on some things, but I work hard on the things I'm passionate about. So actually just finding the time after work and after doing the stuff I love to figure out how to make the payments work, and with bank accounts and all of that, all the boring parts of making a Patreon, in my opinion, I haven't got around to that. And the second part, which is probably why I haven't gotten around to it, was actually a conversation with my brother a while back, where we talked about how if I'm to become an entrepreneur, sort of, and just make all of my own finances, then there's a lot of things to check up on and make sure, both with laws and rules and all kinds of stuff, and I'm not a very structured person, so I'm kind of conflicted about whether to do that. If I were to do it, it would be because I've reached a large enough audience that I can just hire someone to take care of that. At the moment, I'm like a single man army in everything I do, besides Medgang, where my girlfriend also has done yoga teachings and stuff. Yeah, so this is definitely a way. Another way would be to perhaps use the website Kickstarter, but that's more focused on not a steady income, which is what Patreon can provide. It's more focused on if you have a project which you want to launch and then raising the funds to do that. So yeah, but interesting question. I don't know, I think if I were to travel to Southeast Asia or something, it would be easier for me to finance a career as a creator and take that chance, but I don't think that will happen anytime soon. So, I like these questions. There's only been 2 questions, but I think they've been interesting, at least for me and hopefully for you as well. And there's another question, yeah? At the back. Yeah.
First of all, a little comment on this with having a full-time job and then have something more in the spare time.
Yeah.
I met a man some years ago, and he was also an entrepreneur. And he would have to ask, there was a discussion about would he do the same again? And his said was actually that he would not have skipped his full-time job.
Okay, interesting.
He would actually have kept it and continue with his business because it was too hard, it was too much, and he was too stressed out for doing it.
Yeah.
So his own advice to himself was actually he should have kept the full-time job.
Yeah, that's
so
interesting.
it sounds so I have my own full-time job, so I've just got so much like or just go entrepreneur way, but that's another discussion. That was the comment. My question for you is, when you post the video and so on, how do you have a lot of response that you have to use time on replying and make new videos, or how do you handle it?
Yeah, actually, it's very much an individual thing how you handle it, and I've just always been very grateful for this response I've gotten, even when it was very little. And my phone keeps ringing. So I've been phoned like four times today, where it's just been random phone calls. Anyways, so I'm not the best boyfriend in the sense that when I get home from work, sometimes I'll just be on the computer responding to comments. And sometimes I won't, but it's always a conscious choice, because with the audience I have by now, I just know and if I didn't know, I could definitely see it, because social media is constantly gonna remind you that there's a lot of people commenting, both positive and negative. And I always, I think one of the reasons why I've built a community, not just a dumping place where people just trash talk each other and stuff on my channel, is because I respond to pretty much every comment. Of course, sometimes I have to let go of some of them, but there's like even the 4 million video, which has like, I would say probably around 3,000 comments or something. I just know that close to 50% of those are mine, just me responding to people. And to be honest, in that case, I even have like a doc file, because people keep asking the same questions over and over. So I've written some of my answers, and then sometimes I copy paste, sometimes I alter it a bit. For the most part, however, on videos which don't get as many comments, I just write it on the spot. But yeah, there's a lot of comments, and it's kind of, whenever you respond to comments, you always encourage more comments, and that's what allows you to grow. and the more the profile grows, the more opportunities comes along with it. But then again, the more attention, the more comments, and the more stressful it can be. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
My approach is to respond a lot. Yeah.
What are your thoughts behind not using Facebook?
Well, my thoughts behind it, first of all, I'd be speaking from zero experience. Oh, well, that isn't true. I grew up without Facebook, but I think it was around 2008 that I created my first Facebook profile, and I haven't not used it since. The ways I've used it has changed, but I would imagine that it could give some more peace of mind to a lot of people. In my case, just constant distractions like with the phone. But in my case, if I were to seek out more peace of mind from social media, Facebook wouldn't be what I'd block. I'd take a break from YouTube.
I heard a guy say yesterday, actually, he's a professional media man, that Facebook was for women and Instagram was for young kids and men. And that I should use Instagram because it was very easy from Instagram to repost to Facebook and so on.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm curious about whether it's because you don't find the media itself attractive, or if it's because you have your limitations and therefore you choose the media that you're accustomed to or feeling safe about using.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think different social media platforms serve different purposes, and it's not always something the creator behind it and the people fixing and adjusting the algorithm can fully determine. They try to, but it's also just a culture which develops, like the culture we have offline as well. It's all human interaction, and then it's being influenced heavily by the algorithms and the concepts.
But even from a practical point of view, you have chosen YouTube to be your main channel.
Yeah.
Were you aware to begin with that you had opportunity to make money there? And what did you do? Because if normal people put videos to YouTube, you don't make add-ons. You don't make money from that. So you have to register somewhere before you become a professional YouTuber, right? And how does that take place?
Yeah. So those are two questions, I believe. So first of all, let's start with my choice of platforms when I came up with this project, the Zen-Dragon. So I chose Facebook. I chose YouTube as a platform, both because I was able to create and share content which wasn't limited to, at the time, a video on Instagram would be like 1 minute. And also because I knew there were financial opportunities if that's the direction I was able to and wanted to go in eventually. So for a while, if I didn't have that part in mind about the opportunities to make money from it, I would probably have done Facebook videos, because everyone I knew already was on Facebook, and Facebook heavily promotes video, and there's so far fewer people creating videos on Facebook compared to on YouTube, where I'm really bad at numbers, but if you look up the numbers, it's something insane just what gets created just from this moment to this. It's just constantly. And it's just the experience of trying to reach an audience on YouTube, especially if you haven't done the research as I hadn't, where it's just an uphill climb. It just keeps going and it takes a while. So Facebook would be much easier for reaching the audience. However, Facebook doesn't have a payment platform. Not at
Unless you're merchandising other things.
Yeah, you can always find, if you have attention, you can always find a way to monetize it, I believe. But also, but making money on YouTube, even with like millions of views, I'm making less than around 1,000, sometimes more, sometimes less each month. So, and of course, I could do other things if I had more time and didn't work full time next to it. I could try and think of ways to use that attention to make money in other ways than AdSense. But still, YouTube it's really cool that you get to actually make a living for some people on YouTube, but it shouldn't be the primary concern because it's so difficult to make a living, even people who have huge audiences but haven't diversified their business model, so they're only earning from AdSense. They've experienced things where YouTube just changes things up. Like gaming videos are big on YouTube, and they're big because people will actually watch a full video to find out how to complete a video game, or commentary videos where people just listen. And that kind of content used to go nowhere until the algorithm switched from promoting how large a percentage of a video the people saw compared to promoting how many minutes they saw. So like imagine the 2-minute video I showed at the beginning of this talk. Even though it's a video I like because it has a message, it doesn't make a big splash because it only gets people watching 2 minutes. So it needs a lot of people to watch to be able to compete with just a video with less of an audience. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Do you have thoughts regarding the ownership of the media? Like Instagram is owned by Facebook and YouTube is owned by Google. Does that play a role in how you market things, or do you believe that your view is on one place because of certain factors that are unknown to me?
Yeah. So it plays a role in the sense, for instance, that Facebook purchased Instagram a while back, and prior to that, whenever I'd share something from Instagram on Facebook, it would hardly get any views. Just like when I share something from YouTube on Facebook, because it's competition. And I can see the clear difference now. Now that Facebook has bought Instagram, I can actually just, when I upload a video to Instagram, I can just check a mark and it will post on Facebook as well. And the algorithm...
It's not restricted to 1 minute anymore?
On Instagram, actually I don't remember. It's still restricted, but it's been progressively gotten longer and longer, the videos. But on the regular format, I think it's still restricted to a minute. However, there's Instagram TV. Perhaps we should just find instagram.com/Zen-Dragon Martial Arts. I think we have a link right there. The Instagram link there. Yeah. So if we click on, I believe you click here, but just to be sure, let's scroll up here. Because I want to show you Instagram TV, which is something Instagram has recently launched. And that's like a competition platform for YouTube. And that allows much longer content. I don't think there's any restrictions actually. We can post for hours, I believe. So let's click here. So Instagram always looks a bit wonky on a computer because it's designed to be used on a phone. So if we scroll up a bit, this is also an interesting video, but we can check that out later. Let's scroll down a bit around here. I think somewhere it says Instagram TV, does it not? Okay, I suppose you can find it here, but on your phone you can find Instagram TV. And so the primary difference between that and YouTube is that it's vertical video and not horizontal. So that means normally when you record to YouTube, if I'm recording something like this, then you would get black lines out in each corner of the video. Where on Instagram TV, you're actually supposed to turn it this way, because if it's like this, then the video will be like this or something, and it won't be fun to watch. So that's a big difference. And of course, it also influences the kind of content you're making, because something like, if I were to do a martial arts sequence, for instance, then I would have to stay very focused on just this one spot. However, you'd be able to, from closer range, still see my feet and the top of my head. So in that way, it also influenced the kind of content. But yeah, Instagram TV is interesting also because it just launched recently, so it doesn't have anywhere near the kind of audience YouTube has. But on the other hand, there's also less competition. And I've created a few Instagram TV videos just to try it out, but I'm still more focused on YouTube. That's where the momentum is, and it's also like the platform I enjoy consuming content from the most. Yeah.
Is there anything you would want to change on YouTube, if you could?
Suggestions you might have. Yeah, there are definitely things I'd like to change. Actually, because I feel the algorithm is very constraining. So if you're somebody who shares content on YouTube, chances are you might be a creative person or you have some kind of point of view you want to share. But depending on algorithmic difference, changes and all kinds of things, you have to either conform or just accept not having an audience. And I think any kind of artist or anyone creating something would like some kind of feedback, and oftentimes, unless it's like therapeutic, then that's the whole point, reaching someone and trying to provide value. So the algorithm, for instance, I recently found out that I had to stop writing Kung Fu the proper way it's spelled. So I recently put out this video, which is sparring with Nicholas, who's in the audience actually. And it's Kung Fu versus Muay Thai, but I found out that when you write Kung and then like a space in between and then FU, that gets interpreted and picked up by the algorithm as fuck you. So luckily I'm not on YouTube now, so I won't get demonetized, so I can repeat that, fuck you. And so actually I had to put those two together in one word, even though it looks, to my geeky martial arts eyes, it looks all wrong to spell it like that, but it decreases the chance of the video getting demonetized. Now this isn't important, just like the title, but people also have to restrict their content. So if they have a controversial point of view, there's a chance it will get demonetized. There's even a chance that it will get completely blocked from the platform. And it might not be controversial. Let's bring up an important subject like suicide, for instance. If I want to say something about suicide and I'm trying to get people to not commit suicide, which is not very controversial, wanting that, it would be much more controversial, the opposite. But the algorithm does not yet have common sense, so it would just pick up on the word suicide, and just to be sure, it might block it. And I can't even say for sure, because sometimes you get away with stuff and sometimes you don't. And that's also, yeah, so you can also see how it influences creators. Because, for instance, a guy like Logan Paul, speaking of suicide, I don't know, how many here have heard of Logan Paul? Just curious, because we have people from all ages. Okay, so my brother has at least, okay. This guy is a huge name on social media and YouTube specifically. He blew up on Vine, which was a platform, it's now dead, where you can only share brief videos. But he's been criticized a lot for being a terrible role model for his primary audience, which is young kids. And I work as a school teacher, so whenever I see a kid just acting extra crash and tasteless, I'm just always I want to ask, are you subscribed to Logan Paul by any chance? Because that's the kind of role model he is, and he has a huge influence. And he became perhaps most famous for vlogging a suicide actually in the forest in Japan, where unfortunately there's a lot.
Is it him? Oh,
Yeah,
then
that's
I know
the guy.
who's-
Okay,
yes,
then you
yes.
know.
Then
Yeah.
everybody knows, yeah.
Exactly. The guy, that's the guy, the suicide guy, and he was way famous before that, but now he reached a new audience by reaching that kind of flow. And sometimes it's the kind of things which people do on social media to get attention, because there's so many opportunities that comes your way with attention, and I would say there's also a huge responsibility which comes with it. So when I'm talking today about making a positive impact with social media, it's not just about how to succeed, it's also what to do with that success. And of course, Logan Paul, he's good at being a douchebag, and that's what wins him attention. So if he was doing my stuff, then he'd probably have 16,000 subscribers like I have. So, but I think it's pretty inspiring when you see people who use the platforms in a positive manner, like the ones I mentioned, Justin Brennan, for instance. And we have another question. Yeah.
Did you get in contact to anyone in real life through a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Oh shit. That was, I'm not very structured, but yeah, I did, and that was actually a good hint, because that's a special story, and we'll get to that right now actually, because I can tell it from my perspective, but I'd much rather hear it from another perspective. So, Jason, take it away. And perhaps I'll add something afterwards.
Hey guys, as you already know, my name is Jason, but my real name is Gerson. First of all, I'll tell you where I came from and how I got here. So, I'm not from Denmark, I'm not from England, but my language is pretty much on top, as I can say. So, I was born in Portugal and I've been there all my life. My mom and dad are from West Africa, Guinea-Bissau and Saint Domingue and Prince, 2 islands in the west side of Africa, one low and one the high note. I was born in Portugal and I've been there almost all my life. My dad died when I was 2 years old, and my mom had to work hard ever since as a single woman, taking care of me. My mom had to go to Denmark and leave me behind with my grandmother for 2 years straight, so I didn't see my mom's face at all. I could only get some calls from month to month. So I endured. It was okay, because I had my family, my father's side. I trust him a lot. I even miss him, because ever since I haven't seen him, like recently. There have been good times, but also hellish times, because sometimes we could really stand each other, especially my bigger cousin called Paul. So the year 2011, 10th August, I remember, that was the first time I ever saw my mom in 2 or 3 years, and I got to Denmark for my first time. 3 weeks after, they told me, you have to go to school to learn Danish. And I was like, okay, let's do this. I don't have nothing to do. My English is bad. YouTube was pretty much the only thing that saved me. YouTube completely evolved my language from a beginner to an intermediate. So I went to that school. They gave me 3 years, but already in a year and a half, I was ready to go to normal school. And that's why I started Husmandskolen in the 6th class all the way up to 9th. Went to 10th class in Gladsaxe, then now I am in Cuba Produktionsskolen. That's the brief explanation of how I got here. I have a big, very huge interest for martial arts because it boosts my confidence and it puts me in this state of mind where you can flow without really thinking about it. Your body moves on its own and you can really, pop some good techniques. In the year when I was 14 years old, like 6th class, that's where I met Mike. He's a very good martial artist that I look up to, and pretty much in this time of need, he was my sensei. Because first of all, my family I was broke, completely broke. I could only afford to go to school and go to a young people's club where you can hang out and stuff. Martial arts and boxing and whatever was not an option for me, so I had to learn it at home. So while I was in school, I had Mike to help me out in his techniques. If I couldn't understand, he would tell me to take it easy. That helped me out a lot as I learned different aspects and different martial arts and their existences. Then what happens after that, I don't see him again. Unfortunately, he stops school. I stop school as well at 9th class. Now I move on. And at that moment, I'm now joining boxing for a 1-year span in a few months and training and, getting my abilities over there. This period, my English has become better. YouTube is becoming a thing like it's far beyond what people know today. Like media, the most important thing about media is communication. If it's crucial and it's very fatal. If that is missing, pretty much social media doesn't have any meaning. That's what y'all see today, with different artists that all they say is just totally foolishness. And y'all can sense that, of course. So I was going through YouTube, studying more martial arts. As I found out more, then out of nowhere, I see Zen-Dragon on YouTube. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that Mike is on YouTube making martial arts videos. Let's go, let me see what I can learn. I took like 3 weeks to watch as many videos as I could. And the more I watched, the more my intelligence for martial arts went from this to this. It just expanded in seconds. Because his ability to really explain, to go to the depth of the techniques and the theories is very good cool talent and a very, intellectual, very skilled. So the thing is, the reason why media is so, in my opinion, is so amazing is because people are able to use their minds and their forces to really influence the masses through speaking and through interpreting, understanding and explaining things correctly. And so the more I watch his videos, the more I was searching for. I watched his sparring. I did that myself, shadowboxing at home. Hands up, head low, punches, dodge. I did all that stuff. Until I was like, okay, let's talk to him. Let's see what he does. So I wrote him an email and said, that's me, A few days later, he answered back. And, we met at a library. Actually, I think it was
Christmas, actually.
Exactly, and we just talked it out. And, I think we're planning on training sometime and stuff. Exactly. So, already from there, things just escalated quickly. So, I'm here to tell that, I've went through hell. I've seen it myself, and I know that I'm not the only one who has seen it. People on social media, they went through the same thing. And people got something to prove when it comes to social media, Instagram, you name it, whatever. That's why I say, of course, social media has downsides, of course, because nobody is there to listen to what you have to give, People have pain, people have scars. No matter where they come from, they will always have something they went through that they want to share because they don't want other people to suffer the same fate. But because nowadays, young people and old people alike have become so dull and so deaf that the message comes in and goes to the next year. So that's why social media is very important when it comes to the ones who bear it in good hands. And that's me.
Beautiful. And I just want to add just briefly to the story because when he sent me that email, he was writing it and suddenly it appeared on my phone, and I remember the exact moment because I was in the supermarket picking up groceries. And I just saw the email, and I've been emailed a few times from followers and stuff, but I don't know how they're finding my email actually. I can ask you later. But this time I just had the sense, just reading the title, that it might have been this guy. And because there's some people who know me in the audience, and there's at least 2 people or something who I've spoken to about my experiences as a teacher apprentice meeting this guy at Husum Skole, where I wish I could have helped him more because I had a passion for martial arts and he definitely had one. And at this point, he speaks fluently English, but also fluently Danish. But at the time, his language skills wasn't on the same level. But we could connect just by speaking about YouTube videos and martial arts. And so it also creates that kind of connection. And also it was a platform for him to find out more about this subject, so important to him, even though he couldn't afford any martial arts classes. And so I tried to get in contact with Idrætsprojektet, which is a project doing great work, offering free trainings and stuff, but it never worked out. And I even tried to reach out to his school teacher, like a few years later, and eventually I just gave up. I just figured, okay, even though it felt like at the time, like I was in that place to try and help this guy, I just figured, okay, it's not gonna happen. And then the signal pops up, and it's all because I chose to share something online on YouTube. And I wasn't thinking about this guy when I came up with the idea of Zen-Dragon, but you never know who you're gonna reach or what kind of situation. And that's also why it's important, not just as a creator, but also just like any one of us using social media. I know there's one person who isn't on Facebook, at least in the audience, but pretty much all of us use social media, and you never know who's gonna receive the kind of things you're writing or posting or sharing, or what kind of influence it will have. So I think all of us, like if you have a passion or an idea or something to explore and try and create something, then more power to you. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But whether you're just using it just more as a consumer of content, like we all are, then keep that in mind, that what you're doing can actually have an impact, both positive and negative. Yeah. And so, are there any more questions?
What is your next thing you have thought about that should be your positive stuff you will post?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be in the Zen-Dragon or Medgang, or will it be something?
Yeah.
Something different, or?
I think for now it will be either something Zen-Dragon or Medgang related. Probably Medgang related. So you could argue that it's doing something positive if I'm sharing something and it's entertaining people. And for the most part, that's all I do with Zen-Dragon. I have a few videos which have more of a message, and I have, like, you can order the tank top and some money will get donated, but it's not making a huge dent. So for the most part, Zen-Dragon is just me sharing my passion, and it makes a positive impact, but not as much as some of the stuff I've done with Medgang. And I've been talking with my girlfriend Anna about doing another, perhaps a free training. Medgang, we have yet to plan it, and it's important for us not to be stressed out or anything, because we were at a point doing free yoga and martial arts classes in this very room every Sunday, and I was also doing video editing and everything, and even though it created value for the people who showed up, it was just, if it's draining us, then it doesn't feel right calling it Medgang. And not that it felt like that constantly, but there were times, and that's why we slowed down the pace a bit. But we wanna set up probably another free training experience, but we also considered a lot of other ideas. Like also we talked about giving speaking opportunities, for instance, because it's a special experience being able to share your perspective, and I'm also happy to have this opportunity, and I'd love to give it to someone else as well who's interested in it. So there's a lot of ideas with Medgang, and there's still, we can always design more merchandise if we like with the mug, and we can choose to donate it to some kind of thing. But yeah, we also wanted to, because when we started out doing mostly yoga sessions here, this guy Kasper, he wanted to offer us money because he felt we were providing him with value, and we didn't want to take them because that wasn't the purpose. but he wanted to give, and then we found out that, okay, if you donate some money, we can spend it for a purpose. And the idea was to put together a dinner experience for a homeless person. There's especially one guy I know, but it never transpired. And it can be difficult finding the time in your busy everyday life. And sometimes it's nice doing something through technology, like this mug, for instance, or anything. If you go to Teespring, if you have something you want to bring awareness towards, then you can create a product, and the product will exist eternally. So even if you get too busy to try and do something for this important cause, which you feel is part of your identity and something you should fight for, then through technology you can have that work just everlasting, or who knows how long this internet thing will keep existing. So, are there any more questions? Yeah, Jason.
The thing is, every time you face, restraint on your YouTube channels, hate,
yeah,
and everything negativity, what keeps you going on and shoving it aside?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just recently had this video I was sharing with Nicholas. I had it covered, I don't know if you saw it, on this website, which is just, there's a lot of trolls there. There's also a lot of serious people, and people love to share, especially sometimes criticism, fight commentary breakdowns. If you want to look it up, you can check it out for yourself. And I think in dealing with haters, it's also important to realize that not every negative comment is necessarily from that point of view. But there's a lot of, especially on YouTube and online, there's a lot of unconstructive criticism. I think it's just important to keep in mind that for me it's kind of nice actually sometimes having these haters who, for the most part on my channel, it's mostly positive because that's why people choose to subscribe. I have a few who I think actually, at least one or two, who probably subscribe just to hit thumbs up and stuff like that. That's part of the online experience as a creator. But I think actually sometimes it's nice because when people praise me, I know they're not, if it's like high praise, I know there's a lot of better martial artists than me. I have my skills and stuff, but I know I'm not perfect. And some people give high praise, and some people just give ridiculous criticism. And the truth lies somewhere in between. But I think it's just a good way of making sure you're not being influenced too much by people's opinions. Because I know in theory, I would always say to anyone who asks me about like how they're perceived by others, I would always say the most important opinion anyone can have of you is your own. And I'm good with what I do, so that should be fine. But still, with as a creator, you're dependent on comments, and you're depending on having people like the stuff and click subscribe if you want to have these opportunities which can come along. So it's easy to get sucked into that. So you wanna get popular, but not for the wrong reasons. And definitely sometimes I also get sucked into that kind of like, I think we all have a need for validation, but I think the key is to provide it for yourself. And so in this way, it's great to have haters, at least I think sometimes, because then if they're saying something about me and it isn't something I think seems fair and reasonable, which I could learn from, then if I'm affected by it, it just tells me I'm getting too much influence by people's opinions. And yeah, so I try not to develop an ego from praise, and I try not to feel like I'm terrible if someone, just because someone writes so in a comment. That's pretty much how I deal with it, like more in practical terms. If someone's actually a creator or considering it, I think what works great, I think, is responding to the negativity and doing it in the most positive, constructive manner. So when someone writes something, doesn't happen that often, but in this case on fight commentary breakdowns, there's been some troubles and some negativity. If someone writes something really harsh and negative, which doesn't seem fair, then I think of it as like a billboard. So here's my opportunity to show how much more classy and friendly and well thought out I am compared to this response. And whoever sees this is gonna be likely to really wanna check out who this guy is and my channel and stuff, because they see me keep it positive in a situation where most people perhaps wouldn't. That's how I deal with haters. I want to say there's been some nice questions already, I think. So the last time I did a talk like this, the best part was the Q&A session. Where it's spontaneous, and I think also because there can be a back and forth learning kind of dynamic in this. So if there's more questions, I'd love to answer them. But I'm just, I'm grateful for the questions already asked and having this chance to share some of my experiences. Any more questions?
Are you able to delete
Yeah.
the questions if they are too awful? Or?
Yeah, I am. I just saw a video with one of the OG old school martial arts creators on YouTube, Quan Kicker. I don't know. Perhaps there's some fellow martial arts geeks in the audience who know who this guy is. And who was talking about that? He came from a slightly different perspective of seeing his YouTube channel as his house on YouTube. And even though that's free speech, his perspective was if someone's just being an asshole and not really offering anything helpful or constructive, then he'll delete the comment. And I can see that because it's not really bringing any value. So it also something, if something is way out of the line, especially if it's like a reference to someone other than me, because I've thought about how I respond to this kind of negativity, but I don't know, if someone criticizes another person in a video, I might feel inclined to delete it. And even just watching Quan Kicker share his perspective, it also influenced me a bit, because he's one of my role models. I have like a handful, 4 to 5 creators, which really inspired me to make a martial arts channel. And I think you should definitely accept some criticism. Like, you should do it just for the sake of learning, but also if you're thinking in marketing terms and everything's just positive, then it seems less genuine. Mm-hmm. Because people are always going to see things from different perspectives. I might consider sometimes deleting comments now. I've already done it once where it was negativity directed towards someone else and I didn't feel like having it. But for the most part, I'd much rather respond. And if it's someone who keeps repeating the same stuff and I've already responded, then again, I have probably 16 comments or something which I could be responding to instead. So there's a line to be drawn. Yeah. And the question?
Do you plan to do more live videos? I know you have made at least 2.
Yeah.
Because I filmed them, but are you going to do more, and why not?
Yeah, I would like to do more live videos, and it's an interesting question because for various reasons. I feel like one of the most interesting videos on my channel, I think it's one called Live Self-Defense Experiment. And that was something which suited the live format really well, because when you're doing live streams, it's important to interact with the audience. But a lot of times the video will be more interesting to watch live than later on. And that's because if people ask questions, then you need to respond and you kind of lose track. But in this case, the idea was for me to be surprise attacked in the video. So it was just perfect with the live format because people were asking questions and I was being distracted just talking to the phone. Any kind of live video will be recorded from either your phone or from a computer, at least at this point, through the webcam. So you can't do it from a regular camera. And I was doing it, then suddenly this guy who was also in the video, he attacked me while I was talking, and it made for a really interesting video. Also fun to see how I reacted, and of course he wasn't trying to kill me, and luckily I didn't have some kind of instinct to just get freaked out and kill him. Otherwise he wouldn't be here. So but check out the video if you're curious. Live self-defense experiment. I think it's one of my really interesting ones, and it hasn't performed very well. I'm not sure why, but live videos don't tend to perform that well on the current algorithm on YouTube. But again, I'm not a puppet to the algorithm, so when I have the right idea, I'll definitely be up for doing live. And also in terms of work-life balance, I think I plan on scaling back a bit and finding ways to work smart with YouTube, so I spend a little less time on it. Either that or quit my full-time job, we'll see. But if it's the first approach, then I'll probably do more live videos, because you don't have to edit them and everything. It's just important to be mindful of what kind of content you want to share for a live format. I was actually considering live streaming this talk, but then first of all, I'm like, I don't know, if something weird was to happen and it was something which someone in the audience didn't like having live streamed, then that was kind of a no-no for me. But also when you do live streams, if you're not very experienced with them, it can be kind of random, where you're not sure if it's recording or not. And I didn't want to just have... I'll be doing a video on this talk actually, where I edit it, but I wouldn't like to do a live stream where suddenly everything is on top, like upside down, like I've done before, and suddenly it loses connection. Yeah. But I just recently found out there's a lot of interesting different ways to approach live streaming in different programs. So, yeah, there's another question.
I have actually 2 questions. One of them we should already know because I asked before.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, do you think martial arts used in the right way can be used in certain situations outside the ring or the dojo? Second question is, what, in general speaking, from your heart, what is martial arts to you?
Interesting. Yeah. So, like outside of the dojo or outside of the ring or even like an octagon, if it's like an MMA fight, which is probably the closest you get to a rule to a combat sport without restrictions, it's gonna be an entirely different context. Because if it's like a professional fight, you'll bow down to each other and you'll both know when to start and you'll be in that mindset. Now, if you're getting attacked out of nowhere, perhaps, then it's a whole different thing. And also, it could be a situation where you're seated like this when you get attacked. Or it could be like you're focused on your attacker and you're doing everything right, but then somebody pushes you in to the attacker from behind. So it's much less predictable if it's a self-defense situation. And for just that reason, I recently started training Krav Maga, which I feel has some great ways of training, especially for self-defense. So there's some good techniques. I'm not sure I'll want to absorb all of the techniques. I think it's more the training I really appreciate from it, because they'll do stuff like every 30 seconds you gotta get down to the ground and then you gotta get back up in this, and you gotta keep focused on your attacker, and then suddenly if the instructor yells 2 or 1, then the people with the number 2 will have to draw a rubber knife or something, and that's just one example of how they try to make sparring much more chaotic, much more resembling a real situation. That's it. A real situation is just that, real and unpredictable. So you never know. There can be a situation where if someone's coming from a distance or something, then perhaps a side kick will be the proper way to deal with them. A high side kick even. It will always depend on the situation, but I think for self-defense, a lot of times it's best to keep things simple. And also to be very tactical and like knowing that everything around you can be used as a weapon, like even this one. And even if I were to use this one as a shield or something, I would not hold it like this, because there's a chance the attacker will, if it's not a very big person, he'll get in between here and he's at close range. But if I keep it like this, it's more difficult to get through. And then it's both a shield and a weapon. So anything can be used as a weapon, actually. That's one tactical thing to keep in mind. Also, like identifying the exits and just the focus of avoiding the fight if possible, because even if you do survive, you're gonna have to survive in court afterwards. And also, like, just like an elder person could, in theory, just like push me, and if I fell in just the right or more so wrong way, I might hit my head into something and I could actually lose my life just from a push. I've seen it happen once at a disco with some friends, where I didn't even see much because it happened so quickly, but my friend, this guy, he kept stomping my friend's feet, and my friend had some temper issues, so they got into a brief fight where they were just both holding each other, and quickly they landed on the ground, and apparently they had to call an ambulance, because when he landed on the ground, he hit some kind of glass, I think from either a glass or a bottle or something. Could be. So just a night out on the town, and it's just like you'll see on my video in sparring, sometimes we take hits to the face and kicks and stuff, but it's a much safer context. Just even like a simple thing can just go completely wrong out on the streets, like that situation. And I think also I want to share this, that I know I'm rambling. You brought up martial arts and I'm very passionate about it. But I think also like the best source for self-defense content, I have some videos marked self-defense, which share stuff I believe in, which is good content. But a lot of what I do is not for self-defense. The best source would be Nick Gross's, I think. Can we perhaps search Nick Gross's, his YouTube channel? Because I'm actually in communication with him about potentially doing a collab, and we'll see whether it happens. But he has like 2 channels with about 300,000 subscribers or something, and he really inspired me to start this YouTube channel.
I'm excited.
So yeah, so this guy, he's famous in the world of martial arts and especially self-defense. If you want to learn some self-defense, I have some videos like the self-defense in a car. If you search Zen-Dragon self-defense car, which is really solid content, I think, for self-defense. But this guy has some really solid concepts, and I've learned a lot just from watching his channel. And he recently posted a post about how someone wrote to him that their life had been saved from just the awareness they had in dealing with the situation due to watching his content. Now, watching content won't teach you self-defense alone. You have to try and practice it, but you can learn a lot from this channel. And also, if that collaboration happens, it will be another dream come true for me. Anyways, yeah. Was there something I didn't cover? Because I ended up ranking.
Second one is, what is martial art to you? Just in general, what is it to you, really?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna try and keep it a bit shorter this time. But for me, I have a holistic view on martial arts. So for me, it's self-defense. But for me, it's also like respectful fighting inside a ring where you bow for each other. It's also not fighting. It's also like just doing forms out in the air. You don't have to do anything with contact to be a martial artist. It's just learning the techniques. It's everything from Tai Chi to mixed martial arts, and there's so many aspects to it. What appears to me a lot with particularly martial arts from Asia is there's also a lot of times a focus on the philosophy aspect of it. Sort of the yin and yang approach, that's how I interpret it. That if you know how to take action, you also need to become a deep thinker. So it's not enough to, it's the more you know how to be violent, the more you need to find peace as well, to have that balance and to be able to take that responsibility in your hands. So that's part of it. Another part of martial arts is fun, just the fun of doing it. And like, if you check out my channels, perhaps some of you already have, but you'll find so many different videos. So people sometimes put me in a box from watching one thing. Okay, this guy is all about practical self-defense. Or this guy is totally out of his mind. He thinks that he can just do a spinning strike with a long-range weapon which he would never carry. There's so many different perspectives, but a lot of what I do is for the fun of it. And even learning martial arts for self-defense, I think is still something pretty much I think everyone should do. But you can still get injured practicing martial arts, and some people can go through their whole lives not being attacked. The one thing you can't know for certain is that whether it will happen or not. Because, just from the few people I know in this audience, there's some people I know who have been attacked. And so it's like, it's a lot of things, martial arts. It's also about what it is to you. I like to focus on the various aspects thereof. Ultimately, it's a means of pursuing self-knowledge, I think, and improving yourself through passion or discipline. There's a yin and yang balance in that. So what you enjoy is going to be something through passion, but being able to also find the discipline and like stand like this, like you do in Kung Fu practice, just this isn't fun. This is not something I'm passionate about, standing like this, but it's great for this discipline. Yeah. Is that it, or are there more questions? If there's no more questions, I would like to thank all of you for your time and also for your questions as well. And I hope you found this interesting. And a lot of you I already know. For those I don't, you're welcome to finding me on Facebook if there's something you're curious about, asking, whatever. So thank you so much. And this has been hopefully interesting. I found it interesting just also hearing the story from your perspective again and some of those questions. Yeah.